Hi again everybody, you're back once more watching Monday Mornings at Mount Springfield High School with Hayley,
Hui, and Kate.
Our last video discussion that we posted on the Learning Federation was based on the topic of how to cope with the atmosphere of NetPlan. This video's discussion is completely different and based on the article that we posted halfway through the week named Should Children with Special Needs be Taught in a Mainstream Classroom?
We're really hoping that we can answer some of your questions relating to the article.
First and foremost though, as teachers, we believe in not using labels that serve to exclude, not perpetuating inequalities through naming children, not enforcing a particular role on students, but to accept all of their views and perspectives that they might have.
Most of all though, we believe in seeing the potential in all of our students and building on their strengths. Throughout this video, we will mainly focus on autism spectrum disorder, known as ASD. I will now hand you back to Hugh to begin our video topic for this week.
Thanks, Hayley. An ongoing debate, which has been numerously mentioned in the education faculty, is whether or not students with disabilities should be allowed to be taught in a mainstream classroom. There are a few advantages and disadvantages in this debate, which has many specialists debating on this topic. A news article, which was featured in the Sydney Morning Herald, written by Karen Pakula, elaborates the significant disadvantages of special needs students studying in a normal mainstream classroom to a specialised classroom. In the article, there was also a feature on a child who has autism. The student needs full attention, and during her time in a mainstream classroom, there were many disadvantages which hindered her learning experience. The main topics mentioned in the article include isolation to themselves, being different from others, and the importance of a good relationship between teachers and students.
That's a good point you made there, Hugh.
Especially the relationship between teacher and student, yeah.
I think that another relevant issue is the fact that it's most likely that both the student and teacher might find it hard to tolerate the ASD children, especially if the teacher has had no training or isn't really interested in teaching them. Students may also find it difficult to appreciate the diversity of the autistic child. It may be hard for the average student to understand the ASD child and what's in their head, and it would be even harder for the ASD child to understand what is going on in the average student's head.
I completely agree.
This would cause tension and intolerance. This could lead to the ASD child being bullied and isolated. Since ASD children have different learning styles, it'd be very hard for the teacher to teach both average student and ASD children at the same time, as well as giving the autistic child the attention she needs, because they do need attention.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything.
Yeah.
I definitely agree, and tolerance and tension tend to be a main aspect when talking about the teacher, the autistic student and the student in the classroom. To simplify or to look at it in a different light, I think I might discuss some of John Austin's work, in particular the zone of difference. And for the purpose of this video, I'll explain it in relatively simplistic terms. The zone of difference is the space in between the self and other on the axis of identity. Austin has explained that a simple example of an axis of identity is that of gender, which is female and male, which are binary opposites. However, what is often thought in education, and it's not thought by everyone, but what is often thought is that people with ASD are the other. Now, what we aim to do in this video is to develop some sort of platform for everyone on TLF, so that we can essentially narrow down the zone of difference, or in other words, shorten the gap between the self and the other.
Well, this week we have focused on 5 questions which has been posted up on TLF.
Yes.
And the questions are: 1, what ideas do you have for how you might teach about difference from this article? 2, what would you hope to draw out of the article that might assist learners deepen their understandings of difference? 3, what potential does the article hold for critical engagement of various identity locations and senses of self? 4, how might the article allow you to work as a transformative educator, in this case, working to overcome disadvantage and marginalisation of groups within your classroom and community? And 5, how might the article allow you to reduce discrimination in the community? Well, from these questions, I gathered that a way to critically engage the children to identify senses of self and location is to create learning-based activities that enhance the child's ability to understand that people are different and that students who have disabilities are the same as everyone else. However, they have a disability that can physically or mentally disable them from learning in a normal classroom. Since autistic children often feel excluded, a project which can be incorporated into the classroom is something like a role play or a recount of how students have felt left out when they have either been ignored or left out of activities in a socializing environment. This could help the students to understand how they form their identities and how society and the other people surrounding a person can impact their senses of self.
That's a very good activity. Now I'm going to talk about how you might teach about difference. The lesson would start by talking to the students about difference. What does it actually mean to be different? Ask students what is something that they see as different or a time in their life when they felt different, and ask them to explain why. After this, lead on to the topic of autism, which most people see as different. Briefly explain autism and how ASD children think and behave differently from the average person. Explain how having ASD can affect the child's everyday life struggling with simple activities. To help the students understand, media resources will be used on the board showing pictures and dot points will be used to explain. Allow children to ask questions and discuss the topic. Soon after the explanation, move on to activities that can help the students understand how it feels to live with autism. Have 4 areas in the classroom, each with different activities, and divide the students into groups. There will be a piece of paper provided explaining the characteristic of ASD that the activity is related to, and also an explanation of how the activity operates. There will be props provided relating to the activity. An example of one activity relating to the difficulty or inability to communicate that autistic people have to deal with has one person that writes down a sentence on a piece of paper and shows it to only one other person in the group. Ask that group member to communicate the sentence they have just read without speaking or writing. This shows that the student how difficult and frustrating it is being unable to communicate. Once the students have interacted with the activities, ask them to sit down and explain how they felt when faced with the challenges. First with the partner and then with the class.
Again, elaborating on what you've said, it's quite similar to what I've said in my next topic that I was given. So students need to know people are all different, whether it be gender, race, religion, the abilities that each student are able to contribute to an everyday classroom. There are, however, students in the world that are disadvantaged and do not have the opportunity to be able to be taught in a normal everyday classroom, whether it be from Africa with disabilities and stuff. So students should understand that being a different individual with different interests and identities is good in the classroom, as it makes the atmosphere more interesting. The main topic should students with disabilities be able to be taught in the mainstream classroom. Being the topic, students with disabilities usually get left out of activities that are involved with normal students or get bullied for being different. A way to get messages across to students is to do activities which allows students to be able to feel how students with disabilities feel when they're either left out, bullied, or ignored by other students, which is similar to what Hayley said in her previous topic. So I feel that if these activities are taught throughout the school, it would allow students to understand the importance of respect, and how if you treat someone with respect, it will be given back to you.
Yeah, I agree with both of your opinions today, and I just think I might elaborate on my opinion here. Every person is different, and therefore every person has a different learning style, as we've both discussed, all discussed, should I say. As teachers, we believe that we have the responsibility to teach every student equally. So I believe that as a teacher we need to cater to the needs of our students and appreciate their individuality. The article that we posted halfway through last week on autism has made clear in my mind that we should be educating and informing students on how to overcome disadvantage and marginalisation within the classroom and even in the community. A good way to do this would be to engage the students in an activity where they broke up into groups of gender, race, height, eye colour, favourite colour, most disliked sport, favourite subject, etc., etc. I would then discuss with the students how some particular things are already biologically there, for example, height, eye colour. And whereas other aspects of ourselves are our own aspects that we have personally chosen. for example, favourite colour and most disliked subject. I would further elaborate here by saying that no one can choose their biological factors. Instead, they can only choose their personal factors. It is a rather difficult task to teach students about overcoming disadvantage and marginalisation. But I guess all we can really do is scaffold their learning and help them to understand. For anyone out there wishing to pursue this question a little further, I have found a wonderful book named Understanding Autism by Susan Dodd. It really is exceptional. It goes into depth about difference, and it even has some pretty neat teaching strategies in it as well.
It's a very good book.
I agree with you. Very good book. The last and final question that we're going to be discussing has allowed us to completely explore our options in terms of reducing discrimination against ASD in the community. Essentially, to be able to reduce discrimination, we need to inform the people of the issue at hand using various forms of communication.
That's true.
That's exactly right, Hayley. And what I've discovered from the previous question is that every student learns differently, and therefore we need to meet their learning needs. To do this, we have come up with a term-based project on the topic of diversity. To get each student involved, we have created multiple activities that will inform the community of diversity and individuality.
Throughout the term, we would discuss many points of interest in terms of diversity. Our main project, which would be displayed at the end of the term, would be our Respect Diversity Day, based on ASD. Both Kate and I have generated numerous activities for the end of the term event to cater for different learning styles of students. To begin with, the students interested in technology could create a website that contains the ongoing process throughout the term.
Yes, but before the actual Respect Diversity Day, we would hold a mini debate between students, especially those interested in English and public speaking. This debate would be based on the question, should children with special needs be socially included in the community? Leading up to this debate, the students interested in art would design posters promoting it as well as promoting the Respect Diversity Day.
On these posters, there will be the event's details as well as factual information and the students' artistic approach to understanding diversity. Or, in other words, their own eye-popping illustration. While the students interested in art are completing their posters, the students interested in math and science would be researching and then creating pamphlets that include statistics and biological facts about people with ASD. Along with this, they will include a flyer that informs the community of Respect Diversity Day. These pamphlets and flyers will be distributed throughout the community.
Yeah, and I realise that we haven't yet discussed what the events will be on Respect Diversity Day. So the main part of it would obviously be during probably a morning assembly. And parents would be encouraged to attend. There would be a student speaker who discusses what diversity means to them and an autistic student discussing the exact same thing. After the morning assembly, the students would invite people to their fundraising stalls, and these fundraising stalls would include the work of the students who worked on the posters, who would also create t-shirts. Because of their artistic skills, that's what they chose, their interest. On these t-shirts there would be different diversity related stats, quotes, etc. There would also be a donation box for a charity of their choice and possibly some nibbles up for sale too.
After all of the fundraising events, the students would let everyone know that there is now going to be a after assembly in-depth information discussion, which would be a gold coin donation for another charity. This discussion would include everything that students have learned throughout the term. Hopefully, by the end of the term, students and even the public have become more aware of the discrimination issues within the community.
That's a really good event that you guys have incorporated, as it allows students to be able to inform their friends and family about autism, you know?
And that's what it's all about, informing the community. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, sorry to ruin your mood, but that's all we have for today. So I'll just quickly recap on what we've talked about throughout the video discussion. Our main topic was obviously based on the article feature in the Sydney Morning Herald written by Karen Pakula on whether or not students with disabilities should be allowed to be taught in a mainstream classroom. We have purposely left the question unanswered, as we do not want to hinder the beliefs and ideas of our fellow teachers on TLF. However, we have an obvious stance on the issue, as we have developed ideas that are affirmative to this question.
And throughout this discussion, we have explored the use of activities that help children understand the difference dominance and diversity, as well as learning about their own identities, how to overcome disadvantage and marginalisation. And lastly, we discussed the term-based project that might help reduce discrimination within the classroom or hopefully even in the community.
Yeah. So we hope this video has been helpful, and if anyone needs any further information or they have any questions on today's video discussion, just leave a comment in our comment box and we'll be sure to answer it. We hope you can all join us for next week's topic, which is how to keep learners focused during the end of term buzz.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.